Last time on the Story of Fortnite, we dive deep into how Fortnite Battle Royale transformed a failing cooperative game into the biggest multiplayer phenomenon the world has ever seen. Seasons 1 and 2 saw the beginnings of an evolution for Fortnite from just another co-op survival to a massive Battle Royale, which went on to revolutionize microtransaction DLC models and slowly became the biggest thing on Twitch and YouTube. But this would only be the beginning of Fortnite Battle Royale's journey to the top. Season 3, Epic shot their players into the distant future of space exploration and science fiction. It was the second time Epic had ever put a battle pass on sale, and with it started a new tradition. Each season would bring in a new theme and aesthetic for the skins on offer. Skins such as the Dark Voyager and Mission Specialist were rooted solidly in that area of space exploration, and later in the season were joined by more elaborate gliders than ever before in the form of the Planetary Probe, Deep Space Lander, and Orbital Shuttle. We even got a first look at a strange alien race, the Leviathan, which was pretty clearly an alien fish controlling a robotic suit. It was a pretty big departure from the medieval knights of Season 2, but one that was easily accepted by the Fortnite community. Alongside this new space-themed battle pass was a brand new feature that would change the mechanics of building in Fortnite forever. Before Season 3, if you wanted to build something, you would have to click for each individual structure that you wanted to place down. It was pretty slow and felt cumbersome, and at this point in the game's lifecycle, people weren't really able to use building to its full potential because of the way the building mechanics work. Turbo building changed all of that. Instead of having to click for every single block placed, you could just hold down the build button and continually place new structures down wherever you were looking. Before this point, in Fortnite, things in the world would stop your structures from being built. Anything from cars to rocks and trees could get in the way of a structure from being built, and that made building in certain areas completely impossible. Season 3 changed that and allowed your building pieces to cut straight through pretty much everything that could pose as a hazard in a crucial build battle. When you combine that with the newly added turbo building mechanics, Season 3 proved to be the perfect training ground for people who like the building mechanics in the game to revolutionize build battles. All of a sudden, massive towers would spring out of the ground when two players came into contact with one another. And while those fights may not be as impressive as they are in more recent seasons, they were mind-blowing for players who had been playing since Season 1. During Season 2, challenges worked differently to how they do now. They were daily instead of weekly. Season 3 was the first season to introduce the concept of weekly challenges. Throughout the 10 weeks of the season, a total of 80 challenges were released. You could either complete them on the week that the challenge was unlocked or go back to it at some point in one of the future weeks. This offered players who had bought the Battle Pass even more new ways to play and didn't restrict you to a maximum of 2 challenges a day as Season 2 did. As a result, leveling up through the Battle Pass was easier than ever, which was a pretty cool thing considering the Season 3 Battle Pass had been increased to a total of 100 tiers. One of the biggest events to occur during Season 3 wasn't even something that was directly within the game, but it was to do with the community surrounding it. We've already talked about how Fortnite has thrived largely off of its community and the streamers within the community, but during Season 3, the biggest streamer of them all began to receive some real recognition. It seems strange to think that there was ever a time before we all knew who Ninja was, but it was really during Season 3 that his channel hit the mainstream. While Ninja started off in the Halo Pro scene and had 500,000 followers by September 2017, Season 3 saw his channel balloon by 250%, making him one of the biggest streamers on the planet. This all culminated in the middle of March when Ninja had some very special guests on his stream. It was a supergroup that consisted of the NFL star Juju Smith, the rapper Travis Scott, and none other than the pop megastar Drake. At its highest point, the stream managed to reach 628,000 concurrent viewers, which blew the previous record of 388,000 concurrent viewers out of the water. At the time, Ninja had already been pulling some pretty big numbers on Twitch, but this team upsent his own stream growth and the growth of Fortnite into overdrive. Realizing the massive potential that Twitch could have for their business, Epic Games released their very first Twitch Prime skins, which could be acquired by linking your Twitch Prime account to your Fortnite account. It was probably this decision that helped push Ninja into being the most subbed Twitch streamer on the planet. Season 3 was quickly drawing to a close, but something had been happening around the Fortnite map that had people confused. On March 20th, people began to report seeing a meteor up in the sky, blazing a trail across the Fortnite island. By March 29th, telescope camps had begun to appear around the map. All of them were pointing toward Tilted Towers. By April 18th, players had analyzed the sound that the meteor made when it was viewed through the scope of a player's weapon. For some reason, the spectrogram revealed the Take the L emote. For a few days, people considered that the meteor may be nothing more than an extended April Fool's prank until April 24th, when yet another camp appeared on top of a roof in Tilted Towers, which sparked even more speculation that this was where the meteor flying above was going to end up landing. The very next day, all the TVs on the Fortnite map changed. Usually they were blank, but now they showed a doomsday screen. The silhouette of a loot llama with crossed out eyes could be seen, and a strange sound was being repeated. On the 26th of April, meteors began to fall from the sky, and then Fortnite once more changed forever. Season 4 crashed into Fortnite with a bang. The comet had been getting closer and closer to the Battle Royale island, finally impacting the ground. It didn't hit Tilted Towers like everyone was expecting, but it came crashing down on Dusty Depot. The comet carved a massive hole into the ground where the depot and the factories used to be, and instead became Dusty Divot, with a research facility at its center dedicated to examining the hunk of space rock that was left over behind. Other areas throughout the map had also been impacted by the shards of the meteor. Part of Tilted Towers had been impacted, destroying some of the buildings there, and so had the prison near Moisty Mire and the motel sign on the northern section of the map. A series of craters were also found in less interesting parts of the map, and all of them were filled with a new and mysterious rock. Using this rock allowed players to jump through the air as if they had some sort of anti-gravity superpower, which is probably why they were called hop rocks. On the topic of superpowers, the Season 4 Battle Pass was focused on a brand new theme: superheroes. The latest Avengers movie was just around the corner, and crashing a giant space rock into the Fortnite map was the perfect excuse to bring superheroes to the ever-growing library of skins that were in the game. By Season 4, the Battle Pass had evolved even further. At this time, Epic Games had realized that there were groups of players that simply bought all of the tiers in the Battle Pass and they didn't play the game again often until the next season, and while that may have made some money, it didn't keep people in the game for long periods of time. To combat this, two new forms of challenge were added. First were the skin challenges that applied to Carbide, the Tier 1 skin, and Omega, the Tier 100 skin. By leveling up your season level just by playing the game and earning XP, you could unlock what were basically upgrades in the skin, making their super suits look much cooler. The second type of challenge were the Blockbuster challenges, and by completing all of the challenges throughout all of the weeks of the Battle Pass, you would be gifted the ultimate hidden skin of the season, the Visitor, and his off-world rig backbling. Throughout the season, Epic Games had slowly begun to build up a story, something that had never really been tried in Battle Royale games before. It all started with the comet in Season 3 crashing down to the island and obliterating Dusty Depot. At the heart of the new Dusty Divot point of interest was a research facility solely dedicated to researching the comet itself. Over the course of Season 4, the map underwent changes unlike any that had ever been seen before, small and incremental, building up a steady narrative. And by week 2, the facility had finished construction, and throughout the rest of the season, the government forces that had set the area up had begun drilling into the comet itself. Through the cracks caused by this drilling, we were able to see the first hints of a metallic object within the comet itself. Across the rest of the map, renovations and restorations to the damage caused by the comet impact were being conducted. Trucks also appeared across the map and seemed to be collecting both hop rocks and metallic rocks that had been left behind by the initial impact. They were all driving towards a secret villain lair near Snobby Shores. Meanwhile, in Moisty Mire, a movie set had been put in place by the government themselves to try and cover up the sudden emergence of superpowered people and the major disaster at Dusty Divot. This would continue until week 7, when the comet fragment was finally weakened enough for a being known as the Visitor to break free. With the Visitor on the loose, the situation was officially out of the government's hands, and so they cut production on the cover-up movie, and the facility in Dusty Divot is now abandoned, much of it being damaged in the Visitor's escape. By week 8, the Visitor had discovered the rocket within the villain's lair and used it to develop an escape plan. He modified the rocket in such a way that it would allow him to travel through time and space itself to escape the world of Fortnite Battle Royale. And on week 9 of Season 4, the blast-off event finally began. On June 30th, the Visitor was ready to execute his plan, and the countdown timer began, counting down until the event took place. The blast-off event began with the rocket launch sequence. The rocket in the villain lair shot up into the sky, with one of its thrusters falling back down into Anarchy Acres. When the rocket reached its peak, the Visitor was heard setting coordinates before the rocket flips back around and screams through the air straight toward Tilted Towers. But this wasn't the fabled destruction of Tilted. Right before impacting the city, the rocket disappeared through a wormhole before exiting through another wormhole above Moisty Mire. He then flies his rocket across the map to disappear once more and then reappear above Greasy Grove. At last, the Visitor's rocket screams upward into the sky above Loot Lake and shatters the fabric of time and space itself, itself to create a giant crack in the space-time continuum above the map. The after effects of the visitors' mad dash through time and space were felt for the final week of the season. The visitors' actions had cracked space and time not just above the map, but throughout the rest of it as well. Smaller rifts could now be found across the Fortnite Battle Royale map, and going through them would shoot you up into the sky for you to fly back down with your glider. It's basically a new way to get around the map at high speeds. And while Season 3 and 4 introduced more changes and storyline elements than anyone could have ever seen coming at the time, they were really only the beginning. In the future, the map would change even further, the storyline would become even more complex and crazier, and darkness would give rise to Fortnite's most ambitious seasons yet.